So last year, when I sat on the chair, I'll ask you that the thing that I'm doing with going neutral in my mind and then connecting with my solar plexus and then making it grow, that's how I lit up. So before I got that answer, I always thought of that as a get in the hot seat trick.
Or get anything in life I want trick. Or
Yeah.
this is how it works trick.
Yeah, so when I was home,
Because it's what we just talked about. It's having already identified the desire and then in this moment not doing anything that gets in the way of the desire. And so what you just said in really a good way is trying too hard gets in the way, doesn't it?
yeah,
And not trying at all is a much better plan.
yeah,
But it seems counterintuitive to humans who have come to believe so much in their trying and in their strain and pain.
yeah, and it's like you said, it's sometimes it's the balance of wanting it so much that you allow yourself to focus in the right way, but not going too far with it and introducing resistance to it. And sometimes it's difficult to find that spot.
Jerry was teaching in his financial planning work that he was doing with people. Put your basket out there far enough that it excites you when you hit it, but not so far that you can't hit it. And it's kind of like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you just keep managing that. That's what deliberate creation is. It's the massaging of that.
Yeah, so when I was home, I thought, okay, I can build on this feeling and build on this connection that I made. So I started meditating and then first going neutral and then connecting with my solar plexus and then trying to make it grow. And from there on,
Trying to make it grow or allowing it to. Once you cross over into no resistance, in the absence of resistance, it must grow.
okay, yeah. And then I'll put in an intention that I wanted to receive thoughts from my inner being.
Now the intentions are already there, but by focusing on the intention, this is really something worth clarifying, because once you are really accurate that you are in that state of allowing, then by focusing on something that is satisfying and knowing for sure that you're not introducing resistance by focusing upon it, then you can speed the process. It's a question that people ask of us quite often. Abraham, you seem sort of like you're contradicting things, because you tell us to be a deliberate creator and then you tell us to be an allower. So which is it? Am I supposed to think about what I want, or am I supposed to just chill out and let what I want be? And we say, well, both are necessary, because if you don't define what you want, then there isn't a vortex that can be received by you. The answer to the question is, which feels most to you? Which feels the best to you? So we're just going to ask you some questions which will answer your question, and then we want to hear more from you. So we talked on the first day about the car that had no resistance at the top of the hill, no brake on, out of gear, and how if you nudge it a little, it will go down into the bay. But you can stop it if you stop it early on, but you can't stop it if you wait until you're at the bottom of the bay and try to stop it. So we want to talk about the emotional scale and the emotions that feel the worst, which indicate the most resistance, and the emotions that feel the best, which indicate the least resistance. So when there's despair, you can find some relief in revenge, because at least you've got some of your power back. And if you're in the revenge mode, you can feel some relief by letting go of that and just being angry. And if you're angry, you can feel some relief by letting go of that and feeling frustration. In other words, there is releasing of resistance, and it feels like relief. When you cross over this center place in this emotional scale, which we are calling contentment or satisfaction, when you cross over into that, you release the last bit of resistance. And when you're satisfied, there is not resistance. So when you are in the state of meditation, and we like your words, you've made your mind go neutral. We like to say you feel detached, you're not thinking. And since you're not thinking any thought, then you're not thinking resistant thought. And when you're not thinking a resistant thought, that feels wonderful. But feel the difference between feeling wonderful because you're not thinking a resistant thought because you're not thinking any thought. Feel the difference in that and not feeling resistance because you're now thinking non-resistant thoughts. Did you hear the difference? Your mind isn't quiet, but there's still no resistance. You've tuned in, and now your emotions can move rather quickly when you focus that way, from satisfaction to eagerness to invincibility. In other words, you can find yourself feeling such passion as non-physical energy. That's what's happening as Esther is allowing us to speak to you through her, is that she was in this place of non-resistance, but as we are flowing through her, it goes far past just that mild satisfaction into eagerness and passion and fantastic interest and invincibility. You see?
Yeah, I can go there.
Yes. And so?
So when I was in that state,
The state of?
that was the state of...
True empowerment? Or
a little bit, satisfaction. I thought, but that's the question. I thought I heard the words, "We are here," and my question to you is, did I receive it? Yeah.
Or did I receive it? And we say, you received it. But the reason that it felt to you like you thought it is because you receive thoughts all the time that you claim as your own.
Yeah, because, and that, when I heard that, I immediately started crying and I got goosebumps and whatever, was all over the place after that. But
so much connection and so much impulse comes from your pure connection with source energy. And so now what you do is, because you don't have to be in meditation to receive like that. You just can't be in resistance. So anytime you're feeling satisfaction or more, you are in the receiving mode, and thoughts and impulses that flow to you and through you are absolutely coming from your inner being, and you are receiving them.
all right,
Nice to know.
that's nice to know. Thank you.
In the early days, Esther wondered about that too, because first of all, we're not speaking words. We're offering vibration that she is translating into the word equivalent. And so it's logical that it is her vocabulary that's being used, her turn of phrase, her even examples of life. And so she began standing at the podium or sitting in the chair or wherever she was at the beginning of every interaction with us with this projection of thought as she relaxed into the experience. Abraham, I want to speak clearly your words. Because she didn't want to be speaking her own words. But when it is your mechanism, when it is your point of view and your inner being is speaking through. So in the beginning, we say to you, we see you here in your physical bodies, and we say, here you are in your physical body, but you are more than you know. And then we say, there's a non-physical part of you that you were before you came into this body. And then we say, and that non-physical part of you that was you before you came into this body still is, even though you're in this body. Because only part of that consciousness is in this body, and the larger part of that consciousness is not. So that conversation, in some ways, served to sort of separate you from you just a little bit, as we talked about the physical you and the inner being you. And then we began talking about the blending of the two, because that's really what it is all about. You want to be in this physical body as a full recipient. We touched on this just a little bit the other day, but we really want to embellish it now by reminding you that as source energy flows through you, you are an extension of that source energy, but you are such an important part of what source energy is focused upon. We really are all in this together. And we mentioned that as many who would sit in an audience or visit with us in this way, who find Esther to be clear and confident and really exhilarated about what's pouring through. In other words, you are witnessing an absence of resistance as you are having this experience with Abraham in this way. But for someone who doesn't understand the basics of that blending, who hasn't come to understand who they also are as extensions of source energy, they might just think that this is someone with very practiced words who does a good job of expressing them in confident seeming ways. But once you have, and really only when you have, as you have, come into your own alignment with source energy, only when you know for sure that you have quieted your mind and that you're in a state of non-thought, and only when you have felt the rising of your own vibrational frequencies and the integrating of the frequencies of you with your inner being, and then received the projection of thought, then you understand, then you know, then you are intertwined, then you know your potential, then you understand, then you've found your place in the universe again for sure. And this connection, we say it often, it's not like a college degree where once you accomplish it, it is yours forevermore. It either is or it isn't in the moment. These piles that we want you to mix everybody up and put in, these piles of under the influence or of your inner being or not, they are not permanent piles. It all has to do with what you're doing with your vibration now, and more important, what you've been doing. Yes. And so?
So I got that dovetails with that a little bit, as in a question about interpretation. Because I'm always focused on pre-manifestation awareness, as in what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, so what's going to come back if I go through this route. But I'm also always interested in post-manifestation awareness. So, but
it's nice when they jive, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you see something coming.
Yeah. But sometimes something happens and you can interpret it as in a million ways. Like, I don't know, like I'm seeing a cat walking on the street and I'm thinking, oh shit, I must be aligned because he's looking at me and winking at me or whatever. But it can be just whatever. It doesn't have to do anything with alignment or not.
Well, here's the thing. Everything that comes into your vicinity is part of your point of attraction. And we know what you're getting at. In other words, how much of this is a response of my deliberate offering of vibration? And we want to say, let's just start with how much of this is in response to my vibration, and then how much of my vibration is deliberate. Because sometimes you're more deliberate than others, but that's why we were playing with our friend earlier today about the consideration that he was having for the woman who was sitting next to him. We want you to get it, that your vortex really is ready to pop at all times. So actually, very little that you are doing in this red hot moment is the reason that something comes into your experience. Just like when you plant the kernel of corn in the ground, you don't expect it to just pop up and be full of ears. You understand that there's a process. And so there's this deciding process and the planting process and then tending to process, and there's the natural gestation process, and there's the law of attraction in your own inner being and source energy focused upon it process. Things are always being presented, or you might say projected, or you could say revealed to you. Things are always being revealed to you. The big question is, are you in a state of realization of it? And the more you hold yourself in that state of being tuned in so that you are focused upon and feeling and aware of the dovetailing of you and you, the fullness of you and you, then you begin to feel that, not only the feeling that we're all in this together, but the importance of your point of view. The feeling of invincibility, what we mean by that is,
I can do anything.
Say again?
I can do anything. That's what it is for me.
Not only I can do anything that I decide to do, but in this moment of time, the energy that creates worlds is pouring through me. And all that I've intended that is in my vortex is available to me. And that feeling of invincibility or eagerness or readiness is the feeling that allows you to receive the impulse or the words, you say.